With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Yeah, obviously, we got Avengers Doomsday coming next year. It's just a year away. That's like so crazy to think about. It is now shooting. It's filming. We got the little screenshots that they sent, the little behind the scenes pictures. They're actually in front of cameras right now shooting, and it's coming out in just a year. So there's going to be a lot of talk, obviously, over the next year about the new Avengers film. But again, there was a disturbance in the force when a veteran Marvel writer got on stage at a comic convention recently and made some statements that have everybody all aflutter. Now, I'm going to give this little disclaimer at the top. What we're about to discuss, some people may consider, John, why are you spreading spoilers? Okay, look, we have an official Marvel person at an official public event on a public stage making public statements to a public audience. At that point, it's news. All right. So we're going to talk about it. Now, if you don't want to hear anything about what Chris Claremont had to say, tune out. But I made the decision that since this was a actual Marvel person making public statements to a public audience at a public event, this is now news. That crosses the threshold, now becomes news. So we're going to talk about what he said here. And if you don't want to know anything, you've now been warned.
Go on,
all right.
get.
Basically, in a nutshell, Chris Claremont, longtime veteran X-Men comic book writer, who is also credited as being a consultant on several of the films, was at a Huntsville Pop Culture Expo and said the following. I'll read his quote in a second here, but basically he said, oh yeah, Robert Downey Jr., he's playing multiple roles, minimum 4. He's playing an Iron Man. He's playing multiple Doctor Dooms, all this kind of stuff. And he said Chris Evans playing multiple characters. He's playing Captain America. He's playing Hydra Captain America. He's playing like all this kind of stuff. And he said, despite her absolute insistence that she ain't coming back to play Scarlet Witch, he's saying Elizabeth Olsen is in the movie as multiple versions of Scarlet Witch.
I don't think Chris should leave his home anytime soon.
No.
This comes to us again. This comes from Superhero Hype. It says, Claremont said at the Huntsville Pop Culture Expo 2025, I mean, we've got Robert Downey Jr. playing an evil person and Iron Man. Wait, that's confusing. And then, well, he's playing 2 other roles. I used to know them, but then Chris Evans is playing Captain America, young Captain America, evil Captain America, and Captain Hydra, or something like that. Apparently, after denying it vociferously for at least a year, Elizabeth Olsen is coming back as Scarlet Witch, shows she's coming back not only as Scarlet Witch, but a good Scarlet Witch. So I don't know if that means Vision is coming back. It's like all the original X-Men are coming back for 2 weeks. We didn't know if Famke Janssen is coming back, but now Famke Janssen is coming back. She's coming back as Phoenix. All right. So let's cover this part first. Chris Claremont is not a writer on the new Avengers movie. He's not a producer on the new Avengers movie. As far as I know, he is in no way, shape, or form. Somebody wrote in the live chat, Kevin Feige is joining the chat. As far as I know, he does not have any official capacity on the new Avengers Doomsday movie, but he's as inside Marvel as it gets. He has been credited as working on some of the movies before in a consulting capacity and all this kind of stuff. And if there were somebody who is not directly in the movie that maybe would be in the know, an argument could be made that it's Chris Claremont. So let's just say that I think everything here needs to be taken with a slight grain of salt, that who's to say Chris Claremont actually knows? He is Chris Claremont, but he may or may not know. So let's just say that up front and acknowledge that, okay? We're acknowledging that. Now let's set that aside for a second. Wow. I mean, that's a lot of stuff he just hit us with. Let's start with the Robert Downey Jr. thing. That he's playing both Doctor Doom and a version of Iron Man, and, as Chris Claremont says, 2 other roles. What?
They better get more chairs.
They need more chairs. Bring in those chairs. We need more. Then he says Chris Evans, which we all knew was going to be there. He's going to be Captain America, a young Captain America, an evil Captain America, Captain Hydra, which is probably the evil Captain America, which is, of course, that is directly from the comics, by the way. That infamous Hail Hydra. So that's clear there. By the way, one of the more interesting kind of storylines they've done in a long time. Then the Elizabeth Olsen thing. She's going to be bad Scarlet Witch. She's going to be good Scarlet Witch. And then, by the way,
from the West, from the East, it's going to be crazy.
And by the way, then just kind of sliding in there, the Famke Janssen, who, of course, is Jean Grey in the classic X-Men movies, saying she's going to be Phoenix. Now, maybe that's just him using the name Phoenix synonymously just with Jean Grey. Maybe he just means that interchangeably. Maybe he just means Jean Grey. But he specifically said Phoenix. So, as of right now, government officials are rushing Chris Claremont into protective custody because there is a Marvel hit squad out there for him right now. Again, this is assuming he actually knows and he's not just talking off the cuff. Or, hey, listen, we've seen official people kind of just regurgitate rumors they've heard, right? I mean, some public official said Haitian immigrants were eating cats and dogs, and that was just some they found on Facebook. That was all bullshit. So, I don't know, maybe that's what Chris Claremont's doing, right? Maybe. But
it does feel like trolling. It does feel like I went down every Reddit thread and read your thoughts and theories, and I just went, sure, why not?
I mean, but listen, this is like, we all assume that Doomsday and Secret Wars are going to be wacky, man. Like, we're expecting them to be bonkers. This is a lot of bonkers wrapped up in this. So, Chris, let's go over and start with you. Mm-hmm. Number one, there are two completely different questions that we have to address separately.
Sure.
First question, how much validity and credence do we give Chris Claremont saying all this? That has to be asked. Now, then as a totally separate question, taking that first one and putting it aside and saying, okay, well, let's just assume he knows what he's talking about. What do you think about all the things he's saying? How do you address those two questions?
I mean, I'd give it like a 10% of him actually knowing what he's talking about in regards to the MCU. As a actual person who knows about Marvel and its intricacies, of course, I would be like, yeah, he knows so much about this. But I really just don't think these are things that are happening. But that being said, we're still in this multiverse nonsense. So yeah, bring them all. Have everyone do everything. Why not? Everyone's part of Hydra. Everyone has a sinister option. Everyone has a doppelganger. Let's go. So it could be all true. It just, again, feels very much like trolling. In my day, everyone was in Doomsday. Yeah. I'm sure they were, Grandpa. Okay. Scarlet Witch will be there and she'll travel by bubble and sing. That's what it feels like. She has a friend who's green.
So let's say it's real. Let's put that aside.
Sure.
Let's say it's real. What do you think about all this stuff he's spilling?
Again, it's one of those things where I'm like, stop talking to me about this movie. Just everyone needs to just because every new thing I learn, I'm like, I don't know if I want that. Let me just experience it.
I just imagine this like wailing and lamentations from the audience as he kept saying things like, stop it.
No.
But that's the funny thing about movie audiences, right? That they'll say, oh, I don't want spoilers.
I don't want to know it.
Right? But if he's on stage and starts saying the stuff, you think they're getting up and walking out of the room?
Oh,
they're like,
hunger. Say more.
Everyone who says those kinds of things, right? They're losing their minds. They go absolutely feral. But it's just, it doesn't get me more excited knowing like, oh, wow, all these other versions of these guys are going to be there. Honestly, that's what I wanted back when we were theorizing about Multiverse of Madness.
Right.
And I feel like that was the time and place to do a lot of these things.
And that was 5 minutes of screen time and it was done.
Yeah. And now I'm just kind of burnt out on it. And I see this as somebody who, again, loves Marvel Comics. I tend to go more Marvel comic than DC, at least in my own like personal knowledge of all of them too, and my enjoyment. And we're just at a point with all these variants and things that I'm like, I just don't care. King Daddy, feed me your spoilers. All
right, Rob, let's go over to you. It's the same two questions that we got to separate them from each other. But the first question is, how much credence do we give what Chris Claremont is saying? After you're done answering that, put it aside.
Yeah.
And let's just assume for the sake of the discussion that he is in the know and knows what he's talking about. What do you make of the stuff? And what out of all the things that he said is standing out to you the most?
Well, first of all, I don't necessarily think he's in the know. I think, I love Chris Claremont. Everyone knows I feel the same way about X-Men as I do about Star Trek, kind of. I love the X-Men. I have thousands and thousands of dollars worth of X-Men omnibuses. I mean, I'm a big X-Men fan. I've also just recently read the Secret Wars omnibus, Hickman's Secret Wars, and Secret Wars Battle World. Coming away from all of those things, everything that Chris Claremont said is, to me, plausible, credible. Sure, you could see Chris Evans, he came back and played Johnny Storm. Why wouldn't he play 5 different variants of Captain America? Sure. I mean, anybody can say whatever they want. The problem the thing that leads me astray here is that none of this means it's going to be good. I listen to everything that he's saying, to me, is ridiculously dumb. Because if you bring, honestly, this movie has to convince me of one thing. It has to convince me, and it's going to have to convince the world, that Robert Downey Jr. could also be Dr. Doom. So the real question that I have is, are they going to credibly convince all of us that whether it's a retcon and you find out that Doom was behind everything the whole time, and they revisit things like Back to the Future style, and it's not what we thought, and Tony Stark's, that's the
your
one
mom.
thing.
Why is she trying to make out with you?
Yeah, I mean, that's all I care about. All this, I would just assume we're in multiverse, like you said, variant land, that anything is up for grabs. Sure, why shouldn't Famke Janssen come back as Phoenix? But what does that mean to the plot? Oh, look, it's Phoenix. I thought we've seen now 2 things in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Multiverse of Madness and Deadpool and Wolverine, which shows that all of these variants showing up really don't do much for the movie. They give you a little bit of a jolt, like, oh, cool, we see Blade. But does Blade play a big part? I loved seeing Wesley Snipes come back as Blade, but I didn't feel anything. He didn't get a really cool moment. There wasn't something plot-wise that, was integral, that Blade's appearance was going to do something that was really integral to the plot to make it work. All of this it's all gobbledygook to me. Okay, you're going to bring back Scarlet Witch, like you said, if she came in floating on a bubble and singing a song, like a variant of Somewhere Over the Rainbow where they change the lyrics, it wouldn't surprise me. But would it be good? Like, I hear all this, and I just assume all of it's true. All of it. Everything I hear, everything Chris Claremont said is absolutely true. That doesn't mean the movie's good.
All I can hear
Well,
is
but it also
Harrison
does
Ford
not mean-
saying this.
Yeah.
It's all true.
It also means it's not. It doesn't mean it's
Scarlet
not
Witch.
good. I mean, it's
Well,
like,
no, it doesn't mean it's not good, but
it all depends on how it's done and how it's used.
all of this stuff there's already too much going on in what he said. I'm like, what they have to do is, with these 2 Avengers movies, they have a tall order, and they have to at least be as good as the other 4 Avengers movies are, because all 4 of those movies are quite good, and they pull off an amazing feat of being able to service all the characters and tell really compelling stories. And those movies are terrific. I dare say that Infinity War and Endgame are 2 of the best fantasy films ever made. Ever made. And they are miracles of character development and plotting and acting. And even though they had all the movies that led up to them, these movies don't have that. I would dare say that Doomsday and Secret Wars have to overcome, rather than have the buildup, that they have to overcome the unbelievable mediocrity that we've been given
that have
since
built
then.
up to these films.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, if anything, these are movies that have to climb up to a mountaintop, leaving behind a sea of mediocrity behind them. And all of this stuff, would I like to see Chris Evans as Captain Hydra? Sure, but it would just be a gimmick. There's nothing they could do.
Depending on, like, if his Captain Hydra is on one of the incursion worlds.
Well, yeah, that's what they'll do. They'll show
Yeah,
us. That's
then
why I
that
believe
could
that
be-
all
that
this stuff
could be
can be real.
important.
We'll
Yeah.
see these incursion worlds. We'll see Dr. Doom pop up here, and I'll sit there and go, I certainly want a hot toy of that.
I was just going to ask you.
Yeah, I mean, like, give me hot, like, I see an animated version of Infinity Ultron. I'm like, I want that.
And of course, evil Captain America has to have a goatee.
Oh,
right?
you
It's
know,
got to be
of course.
straight.
How could you know he's evil?
That's right.
I mean, you know what? By the way, Mirror Mirror still stands, second season original series.
I knew I shouldn't have brought
as
it up.
the greatest multiverse display. That and Yesterday's Enterprise. from the 3rd season of TNG. Those still work because it isn't just a gimmick. They both had great stories to tell that dealt with human nature. And you know what? The multiverse has forgotten that. And Kevin Feige should know because he's a huge, huge, huge Star Trek fan.
All right. Now, let me ask this before we go off into a big exposition on the meaning of Star Trek. All right.
We should never stop.
Let me throw this out there, though.
It's about space.
Let me throw this out there. You bring up Kevin Feige. No one's been in this game longer than Kevin Feige. No one understands the Marvel Cinematic Universe or its fans quite like Kevin Feige. Question. What is the probability that Kevin Feige specifically told Chris Claremont to start making statements like this? That Kevin Feige, who we already know, they've kind of said they may be engaging in false information campaigns to keep everybody off the track. What is the possibility that Chris Claremont is specifically in, dare I say, cahoots?
There's collusion?
That there may be collusion in specifically spreading false information to keep everybody on the toes so that when real leaks come out there, we can't differentiate between the fake and the real. What are the chances, you would say,
Very
Chris,
realistic.
that maybe Kevin Feige is kind of maybe even behind this whole leak?
Well, now I just
He's
feel
the Phantom
crazy.
Menace.
He is the Phantom Menace.
He is the puppet master after all.
What do you think, Rob?
Okay, have you ever seen the Jack Ryan movie, The Sum of All Fears,
Yeah.
that stars...
100%, yes.
There's a scene where Jack Ryan has to fly to Russia with Morgan Freeman. And Jack Ryan has his new girlfriend, is it Bridget Moynihan or whatever, can't tell her what he's doing. He can't say he's a CIA operative. And Morgan Freeman sits there and they're on the phone, they're on a plane, but Morgan Freeman's like, go ahead, Jack. Go ahead and tell her exactly what you do. Tell her the truth.
Yeah, this is the Ben Affleck one, isn't it?
Yeah. And Ben Affleck like tells her and she just hangs up the phone on him when he tells the truth. I think everything that Chris Claremont's saying probably could be true. Just keep saying it because why not? And by the way, you want to hear an interesting bit of Kevin Feige trivia?
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Chris.
Sure.
Say it.
Thunderbolts is the 50th Marvel movie that Kevin Feige has received a producer credit on.
Wow.
Because you had 14 Marvel movies before the MCU, and you have to include Brett Leonard's Man-Thing in that. Everyone forgets Man-Thing. Brave New World was the 35th MCU movie. Thunderbolts marks Kevin Feige's 50th movie. The TV series take him further than that. But the 50th Marvel movie that he's a producer of. 50.
How many?
5-0. 5-0, baby. 5-0.
Motherfucker.
All right, guys. Question is for you.
Well, 50 films.
What do you think about it? And I'll put to you the same two questions. I mean, number one, what do you think of the veracity of the comments Chris Claremont's making? But then putting that aside, assuming that they're real, just for the sake of the discussion, what would you think about the stuff and which part of everything that he laid out there stands out to you the most? Is it the Elizabeth Olsen stuff, the Robert Downey Jr. stuff, the Famke Janssen stuff? I don't know. Whatever you guys think about all of it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.